Greetings, Defenders. Welcome to the weekly Influence Report. This is our second Influence Report where we get to update you on how you're able to influence our game. My name is Brad Logston. I am Senior Producer on Dungeon Defenders 2, reporting to you remotely from Seattle, where I'm actually here meeting with other people to talk about Dungeon Defenders 2. With me back in the office, I have Dan Haddad, our Creative Director on the design team. Say hi to everybody, Dan.
Hello, Defenders.
And we're really excited to share a whole bunch of cool information with you today. First up, we actually have a hotfix that we've been working on. We discovered a number of bugs, big surprise, and we want to get some of those changes pushed out to you hopefully later this week. Dan, why don't you give people a little bit of information on the kind of bugs we're going to be fixing in this hotfix?
Right, so there's about 7 or 8 key bugs that we're fixing with this hotfix. I'm going to talk about 2 of them. One, unfortunately, when we did the equipment and armor update that we did maybe a month ago or so, we actually broke something with the weighting of loot. So a lot of players right now are not getting equipment for their actual current hero. So we fixed that.
You know, that makes a lot of sense. We've been getting that kind of a couple of notes in the forums about how, hey, it doesn't seem like I ever get stuff dropping from my hero. So, I mean, yeah, it was a bug. Great. That's good. That's fixed.
That's fixed. And the second problem that we found, one of the monk specs, the lightning aura spec, it was actually doing, when you put all your points into it, around 160% extra damage instead of around 60%. Yeah, so we tweaked that back to where it should be, and that's
insane numbers.
Yeah, insane numbers.
Very, very cool. All right, well, we're hoping to get that patch out to you guys in a couple days. There's not really any features changes in this patch. This is really just bug fixes. We're working on a bigger patch that's going to be coming up later to address some of your feedback. We don't want to hold those bug fixes, so you'll get that here in a couple days. Going to the next section of our report, we want to talk to you about what you guys have been telling us about, the community feedback. And we've been reading the forums, we've been talking to you guys in chat, and we have noticed a number of themes again that we want to discuss. The first up is green mana. That's being very hotly debated, and that's something we debate about ourselves a lot too, right, Dan?
Yeah, it's a really, really hot topic internally. The problem with green mana is if we give you too much of it, it becomes too easy. If we give you too little, it's a little unfair. So you got to really hit that balance where the game remains challenging and you guys need to figure out how to spend your mana. I don't suspect we'll stop working on green mana for a very long time. We're going to be continuously tweaking it over and over and over until we get to that perfect balance, pretty much.
Yeah, so we're really glad that you guys are talking about that too. We are listening to all those notes, and we'll have adjustments coming up in the future, and we'll keep on asking you how they feel, and eventually we'll get it right.
Yep.
The next up is victory chests. So there have been some really cool threads about that. Honestly, that's a really new feature for us.
It is.
I think victory chests have been in for, about 4 or 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk to them a little bit about some of the things we're doing to victory chests, or we're thinking about doing to victory chests to react to that feedback?
Sure. So there's 2 key things that we're seeking to improve. One, obviously, the drop chances, the chance at seeing a blue, purple, and legendary. We're going to tweak those numbers across all the level ranges.
All right.
And the second one, based on some feedback we got, honestly, from the forums, we wanted to add some unique drops in these chests so that the drops that you get from it are a little distinguished or a little special compared to the ones that you ordinarily get. So, yeah, look for those sometime in the future.
I'm really excited about that second one too because I saw those threads. People were suggesting finding unique loot from victory chests, and I think it's going to be really rewarding when you can see that thing that you can only get from a victory chest. So that's super cool.
Yep.
Next up, we actually have been debating a lot about the playlist system, and so have you guys. How can we adjust this and make this better? And from our last influence report to this one over the last 6 or 7 days, Dan and the game design team, the level design team, have been really sitting down and actually working very hard at modifying progression and playlist system and how that works, as well as adding more depth in the in-game and tweaking a whole bunch of other features. So, Dan, why don't you share with us some of the things that you guys have been doing on the progression system?
Right. So since last week, we basically took the 1 through 25, like we discussed, and we reduced it to about 40-50% less playtime to get to the actual cap. And when we did that, we honestly wanted to try something different with our matchmaking flow, which is still very, very much a work in progress. So before, at each level range, you had a bunch of maps that you could pick which one you want to play through. Right now, internally, we have an experiment where at each level range, you have a very specific map, and you have to finish that map, and you unlock a next map at the next level range. So more linear progression, and naturally, when you get to the end game, everything opens up again, and you get to go through the maps at whatever difficulty you choose.
Yeah, I've played that actually, and it feels really, really good. So I think, as we continue to tweak and refine that, let it simmer for a little bit. We'll hopefully have something like that out in a future patch that you guys will get a chance to experience and give us notes on. Next up, I think because we're pushing things in the in-game, we're actually trying to add more depth into the in-game loot that you get. So I think we're adding some new special stats to some of the legendary items.
Yes, we are. We're adding 4 legendary items actually, one for each hero.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and they'll have a special stat that's unique to specific heroes. So, for example, I can tell you about the Squire's legendary weapon. He's going to get a sword that has basically a special stat that buffs towers around him. It increases their damage output. So he basically becomes, he becomes a moving boost aura, and he gets to jump around between the lanes based on where the threat is currently.
Oh man, I'm a Squire player personally. That's my favorite hero, so that sounds super, super exciting. Cool. And then I think also to that end, we're trying to add new experiences into the 25 plus in-game content, and that really kind of dovetails into the influence vote that we're running right now about incursions. And I believe that you guys have been already experimenting with incursions and trying a couple things. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've been trying basically 2 experiments. First off, we took basically incursions because they're supposed to be this spiritual successor to our DD1 challenge modes, and we wanted to try basically what we call the elite force, basically where we apply a buff to all the enemies across the map that pretty much changes the way you play that map. And the second one is basically themed around a special enemy, and I can tell you one of the experiments we're trying internally, there's a souped up version of the Dark Mage that kind of hangs around above the map, and he does a lot of sinister things up there, and then on the last wave he kind of drops and he gets to summon as many skeletons as he wants to across the entire map.
Oh no!
To figure out how to deal with them.
Oh, I have not seen that yet, actually. I know that you guys had a small group in working over the weekend, kind of playing with the incursion system, and oh man, that sounds really exciting. I'm kind of scared, but also very curious to see how that plays.
Yep.
Really cool. Well, that actually is a good lead-in to our last segment of the show, which is about the influence vote itself. So if you guys haven't checked it out, our current initiative is about the incursion system. It's running until Friday, and it's really asking you guys, where do we focus our time in the incursion system? We have this idea of these commander incursions, like Dan was just talking about with the special enemies, the Dark Mage, and then we have these elite force incursions, which are really modifying the whole enemy list and changing how they play. And I think the vote, again, similar to last week, is a little bit skewed. We have, last I checked, about an hour or so ago, there was 3,300 votes for the commander incursion and about 700 votes for the elite force incursion. And we've also been reading kind of the notes in the thread in the vote itself to see what you guys are talking about. And I just want to quote one of our community members, hopefully get his name right, it's Montablock, that was talking about kind of his opinion on the 2 different options. I'm just going to read exactly what he wrote. He says, depends on the buff the elite force gets. If it's a straight stat buff, then I'd say go for the commander option. But if it's things like jump over barricades or hunt heroes or dodge single target attacks, then I'd say go for the elite force. And I think there's actually some really cool stuff we can do with the elite force. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the what you would get or what kind of things would happen if people voted for that option?
Right. So the elite force, it's not going to just be stats. For example, the experiment we're trying internally, we call it chrome mode because they get this chrome metallic material applied to all the enemies. And they basically move a little slower. They have 50% more HP. They cannot be stunned. They cannot be drenched. They cannot be oiled. They cannot be CC'd at all. And you basically have to figure out how do you deal with this big metallic horde that's basically approaching your objectives now.
That sounds actually really that sounds scary. You just imagine like all your stuff's not working and you're not sure what to do and you just have to deal with it. That could be a lot of fun. And to be honest, we're excited about both options. If the elite force incursion wins, we can pour more time into doing more feature type changes to our enemy lineup to make them more interesting and more exciting. So even though the vote's skewed right now, I don't think it's over yet. There's 3 days left. Go in there and tell us what you think. Help influence the decision we make with the incursions, and then we'll be going from there. So, Dan, thank you so much for joining us today again. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day. This kind of wraps up our influence report for this week. We're actually going to be taking the next couple weeks off. We're going to be breaking for the holidays, so you won't see me again for the influence report until January. But we are still going to be running influence initiatives throughout the entire holiday season. So on Friday, when the incursion vote wraps up, we're going to have another one come up, and we're going to continue getting your guys' feedback as you're playing the game over the holidays and using that. So when I come back in January, we're going to have quite a lot to talk about, I think. So you guys have a great holidays, a happy new year, and we will see you after the break.